Very good Sunday morning to each and every one of you. Sunday morning coffee on Past the Wire TV. I am Big Race Jim, brought to you most Sundays by Shorebet Coffee and Amwager, Pleasant Acres, Spendthrift, Tampa Bay Downs. We're rocking and rolling back after a few weeks after the Breeders' Cup. And, admittedly, was a little busy. Also, not a whole heck of a lot going on. And I've been wanting to dive into some pace points. Maybe you've heard about it, maybe you haven't heard about it, but I'm here to talk about it. And pace points is the latest and perhaps greatest data product from Past the Wire and in the horse racing space. And what does it do? What does it do? It tells you who is going to be running the best early. And by best, we mean most efficiently, right? Like who's going to be up on the lead, who's going to be mid-pack, um, who's going to be off the pace, um, going into that first turn, let's say in a route race, and who's going to be where they need to be, right? And I think it's important because typically when we look at a line of running line in the DRF or Brisnet, Timeform US, whatever we're using nowadays, right? We see, their positioning throughout the race and we kind of make a judgment. But that is just kind of specific to that particular race and that particular field. You could have a horse that likes to be out on the lead, needs to be out on the lead, only wins when they're out on the lead. And if they're going up against lesser horses and they're faster than any of them early, and we see 1 1 1 1 1 1 across the PP line, and we're thinking, okay, this horse is gonna be out front, right? And sure, you can look at the first fraction and get a sense and compare that to other horses in the race. But there's a little math involved, right? Because if you have another horse that likes to be in front, but they're competing against higher quality horses, faster horses early, and maybe they were sitting second, third, or fourth, half a length, three-quarters of a length and a half back. Now you got to try and figure out what their first quarter time was or first half mile time was. Pace Points does it for you. Pace Points does it for you by giving you a simple ranking um, to show you who, in our collective estimation, based on time, based on post, based on some other intangible factors that we factor in, we provide you with a simple ranking, one through however many horses are in the race. And I'm going to show this to you in a second. Who's going to be forward early, and then who's going to be running fastest late, right? So it is a complete snapshot of the beginning part of the race and the end part of the race of who is going to be doing their most effective running at that particular point relative to that specific field, right? Because you could have a $50,000 claimer or a $16,000 claimer that's, you know, been knocking heads against similar competition and cleaning up, but they're making a class jump up, 3 or 4 levels, and the PPs look good. Maybe the speed figures maybe fit, but the pace points, it might look like they might get some poor positioning just because other horses around them are faster in each of these particular points of the race. So let's take a look. And why am I doing this? Why am I doing this? Because anytime you're looking at some sort of data product, right? You're not going to use it unless unless you know how to use it, right? We're not going to put our hard-earned money behind horses using a data product that we don't know how to use just to try it, right? So I'm hoping that this can kind of help get everybody moving in the right direction. So I wanted to look at the Clark since that's coming up on Friday, and um, that's probably the next biggest race between now and then. So what you'll get, and it says NA in the post position and the odds yet because those haven't come out, but once those get updated, you'll get the post position and the morning line odds on this PDF. So what do we see? This first fraction rank. So we're ranking the first portion of the race. So in our estimation, this Gosker and Magnitude and Houday are going to be the three sort of vying for early front running position, right? And we know Magnitude. We know Magnitude likes to be out front. We know Magnitude likes to take a lot of money. um, so is this the end all be all, right? Would you just look at this and say, well, Gosker, early number one, late number one, got to be the winner? No, of course not. We have to use this in tandem um, with our typical um, handicapping process, right? This isn't just a standalone replacement for all of the other things that you would normally do and factor in and consider, right? This is just another tool that will help you figure out who's going to be where when it matters, right? At first quarter, first half mile of the race, and the other portion of the race where it matters most, the last quarter mile of the race when everybody's getting tired. So let's look at this all relative to your other handicapping options. So Gosker, Magnitude, Houday, Willie D's, right? Figure they'll all be up there. Now, First Mission is interesting, right? Because we've seen this horse, and I don't have the PPs in front of me, but we've seen this horse like to be forwardly placed, right? So you have to think that according to our rankings, there's 4 horses that are going to be faster than this one going into that first turn. So maybe that gives you a thought like, is First Mission going to have a little bit extra work to do? Is that going to is that going to be a disadvantage to his positioning along the backstretch? Um, is he maybe going to be swung out wide a little bit? Well, no, because he's going to be buried on the rail. So maybe that's the question then. Is he going to be pinched in on the rail going into that first turn and maybe be a little uncomfortable in that 2 hole? These are all kind of questions that arise or may potentially arise when you're looking at that first early fraction rank for a horse like First Mission that we do know likes to be in the mix early, but there are at least a couple that are faster. Chunk of Gold, we know, likes to come from the back. Rattle and Roll, same thing. Hit Show, same thing. So all of those make sense. Now, when we look at the last fraction rank, again, this is kind of factoring in who we think is going to have enough energy, who's been running most efficiently until this point of the race, and who's going to have enough energy to be running fastest, or at least slowing down the least towards the end of the race. Gosker again. And we've seen races from this horse where he is he is a freight train at the end of the race. I mean, look at the Preakness, right? This horse had that race won if it was not for an all-time effort from Umberto Rispoli and journalism, right? I mean, that Gosker's the Preakness winner if Rispoli and journalism did not run the race of a lifetime, getting banged around and having to rally in like the last 16th of a mile to get him at the wire there. So we know this horse is a quality late runner. Rattle and Roll. Again, I don't have it in front of me, but wasn't this the race he won last year? Sorry, bad TV as I look this up. Let's see. Let's see. It was. It was. And he was he wasn't that far off the pace last year. So um throughout. So we'll see. We'll see. Nevertheless, a good, solid late runner that likes this track has won this race. Magnitude, like we saw, whichever race that was, where he was trying to get into what race was he trying to get into? And he didn't look good. Oh, he ran in the Travers, and he did not run very well. So, you know, I would mm, I don't know. I don't know. He's an interesting horse. He's an interesting horse to me in this race because of that Travers, because of the Pennsylvania Derby. Um, Interesting that he went off at 10 or 11 to 1 in that Pennsylvania Derby. I'll have to go back and watch that. It wasn't terribly close early in that race, but was just kind of like just kind of even, lost ground in the stretch to Baeza. But most horses do lose ground to Baeza. Um, so I think when you want to look at this, and the way I use this, especially for the last fraction, what I like to do is think about the horses that we know like to come from the back in here. Um, Chunk of Gold, we know is a late runner. I haven't really liked this horse at all since he was running in Louisiana um, to start the Kentucky Derby preps. Just has not really been a fan of his. Hit Show we know is a late runner. Rattle and Roll is a late runner. So those jump off at me, and my eyes go to them first to say, okay, are they as good relative to this field as we think they are? Right? Isn't that Denny Green when he's coaching the Cardinals? They are who we thought they were, right? That's my first thought with the pace points looking at the last fraction. Are they as good as we think they are when it comes to these late runners? Because there are a ton of variables when it comes to late runners. There's a ton of stuff that can happen in however long, 5 furlongs, 6 furlongs, a mile, mile and an eighth, mile and a quarter, however long. There's a ton of stuff that can happen between the start and the finish that can impact a late runner. So I want to know, are they as good as we think they are? And this late fraction helps me determine that. Chunk of Gold, we know, is a late runner. I look at this and he has a 6 rating. Probably, I'll probably give him a glance in the PPs, but I probably won't look much closer than that. Hit Show, and he did win. And he win like the Dubai World Cup or something crazy earlier this year, which is nuts. But I'm not. I don't know. I'm not sure he's in the best of form right now. Um, oh, I don't know. He did win a grade 3 last time. Just looking at his races. Eh, I don't know. He's interesting. He's interesting. Just because maybe you never know really what you're going to get. He's interesting. Um, Rattle and Roll, I think, is interesting. I have to take a closer look at him relative to this field again. Like that jumps off at me. That he's ranked 2, as is this Who Day. So um and Gosker as well. Like the 1-1 is interesting to me. I'm gonna have to go back and look because I have to see what sort of staying power he's had in a lot of his other races because that takes quality, right? To be a good horse early and a horse um, a good horse late. And just quickly looking at it, um, we'll see. I don't know. His equibase speed figures are a little all over the place. So my first thing, like I said, I'm looking to see, are they who we thought they were? Chunk of Gold is who I thought he was, and not not terribly great. Magnitude, I think we've seen, just doesn't have the ability to um, just doesn't have the ability to go super far. Like he won the Risen Star, but the last couple races, I just haven't been like, just haven't been, just haven't been super, super impressed with. And at a mile and an eighth, I don't know that I'm necessarily thrilled about his prospects, especially when he doesn't rank very highly late in the race. That's concerning for me, especially in a route race that I feel like he's going to have some company on the front end, um, and I don't think that that particularly bodes very well for him. Um, Hit show is intriguing. Rattle and roll is interesting to me. Again, I'll look at the PPs because he has played it pretty close, right? And this doesn't mean that you know Rattle and roll is going to be like 9 lengths off the front runners, right? This is just this could be the distance between Gosker and Rattle and Roll could be 2 lengths, 3 lengths, right? It could all be like pretty tightly packed. This doesn't mean because he's, you know, ranked last in this first fraction rank. This doesn't mean he's going to be way off the back. It doesn't mean that at all. And I think that could be, mentally that can be like a little bit of a hurdle. So I just want to make that clear. That can be um, this all can mean that it's going to be can still be fairly tightly packed, and that's interesting, right? Because if we look at Rattle and Roll, um, he's never really tremendously far back. So when you have a last fraction rank of 2, which to simplify it as simple as can be, like our projections have him relative to this field as the second fastest runner late. So if you can get good positioning, right, and you're 2.5, 3 lengths off down the backstretch, and you're in the clear, which theoretically you should be in the six, right, in the sixth spot, you should have a good trip. So we'll see. We'll see. Could have a free run at Gosker at the quarter pole. Is maybe how it shakes out. So keep that in mind, right? It doesn't mean that Gosker and then magnitude are like I mean maybe for them it might be like this, but it doesn't mean that Rattle and Roll is going to be 9 lengths back. It just means that he's going to be a little further back, but not tremendously far, maybe a couple of lengths. And again, this is why it's important to look back at your PPs and see, okay, like where's Rattle and Roll typically? If he's only ever 2, 3, 4 lengths off the front runners in the early stages of the race, then figure he's going to be 3 or 4 lengths off in the early stages of the race. So don't let that, those higher numbers make you think he's going to be way off the back. Same thing with, Cook Creek, um, you know, Chunk of Gold, I think would probably be sitting a little bit further back, just because I believe that to be his style. But again, this doesn't mean that they're going to be this field's going to be all strung out, right? Um, so just keep that in mind. And then, yeah, then at the end, again, it's just as simple can be. It's just we just think that Gosker, Rattle and Roll, and Houday will be the 3 fastest horses. They'll be the 3 doing the best running towards the end of the race. and um, and that's where my attention will go when I'm going back and forth with the PPs. So again, it's a tool to help assist with knowing where horses will be at certain points in the race. And at the same time, you have to use this relative to your normal handicapping process, right? This isn't in replace of the DRF or the Brisnet. It is in addition to, so we can get a better sense of race pace, race flow, race shape, trips, all of that in an easy snapshot ranking format that allows us to better understand how a race is going to look, who's going to have positioning, who's going to be where, and who's going to be doing the best running when it matters most in the early stages of the race and in the late stages of the race. So hopefully that was an interesting and helpful tutorial on pace points, and you find it helpful. They're available at passthewire.com. Hopefully you'll grab a copy. Wait till later in the week once the post positions and the odds are out. The PDF looks a little bit cooler. Then looks a little bit more finished and polished, but we appreciate your support, and we'll leave it there. I'm available for questions. You got questions, drop them in the comments on YouTube. Shoot John an email, shoot me an email. We're happy to answer your questions and get you up to speed on pace points. We'll start doing some more of these, and we'll have some recaps, replays of of these races and how we use them, and how the pace points shaped up. And it's important to mention too, like, this isn't going to be perfect, right? Like, we know we know horse racing, anything can happen. So this is just a tool to kind of help us get a better understanding of each race. So hopefully you find it interesting and beneficial, and have a happy Thanksgiving. Enjoy the races, enjoy the football. We'll see you back here on Sunday. We'll go through the Clark. We'll see how we did. We'll go through pace points and see how it did. And we'll hopefully keep building a little bit of a bank of tutorials here to get everybody up to speed so they can add it to their handicapping arsenal. All right. Sunday morning coffee on Pass the Wire TV. I'm Big Race Jim, Torbet Coffee, Amwager, Pleasant Acres, Spendthrift, Tampa Bay Downs. Have a great rest of your week. Have a happy holiday, and we'll see you later on. Go.
Here comes journalism, here comes sovereignty, and they square off, heading to the final front. Sovereignty wins the Derby!
You're watching Pass the Wire TV. Hit that like button and subscribe to Pass the Wire TV. Nobody does it better.